Hi and welcome to this video. In this one, we're going to talk about Python data types. So hit that subscribe button and let's get started. This lesson is going to be a short one because you already know what a string is, what numbers are, what are the Boolean types, why do we use them, what are some more advanced data types like arrays and objects. Python has all of these. The names are a little bit different, but from a programming perspective, they do the same thing. Python is a high-level dynamic programming language like JavaScript, so you don't have to worry about low-level stuff for memory management. We are going to see an example of low-level in Rust. When we get to it, that's going to be the biggest video for all these data types, but when it comes to high-level, we just take a look at everything from a bigger perspective rather than diving into nitty-gritty stuff for data types. And it is dynamic, which means once we create a variable, we can change its type, unlike Typescript, which was statically typed. So if I were to say x is equal to 42, this is going to give me an integer. Now, numbers in Python are of one of the two types. We have a whole number, which are integers, and then we have the ones that have decimal points. For more accurate scientific notation, we call them floats in Python. So this is an integer, 3.14159. This is an example of a floating point number. We also have strings in Python as well as in JavaScript. Let's say we have Matthew. So this is a string. We also have Boolean, let's say is online. The difference between this Boolean and the Boolean that we had in JavaScript was just the first letter of this one is capital, whether that is a false or a true. So if it were a false, it would look like this. So these are, like, you could call them the primitive types. We have other more advanced or more evolved non-primitive types as well. Let's talk about the first one, which is going to be a list. So a list is technically different from an array, but for you to understand what a list is, you can think of it as an ordered collection of items. It can hold different types. So in here you could have a number, a string, and a Boolean value. It's like an array in JavaScript. Then we have something else in Python, which is called tuple. And if you watch the video of Typescript, you have already heard this tuple. But the difference in here is that tuples are like lists, but they cannot be mutated. They're immutable once they're created. So when it comes to lists, you can add items to them, you can delete items from them, but when it comes to tuples, you cannot do that. Let's say we have something like dimensions, and this dimensions is going to be, let's say, 1920, the dimension of my videos, by 10, it's 1080. And the syntax for a tuple is a pair of parentheses. So that's a tuple. Next up, we also have key value pairs. We also have a syntax to wrap key value pairs like we did in JavaScript, which was an object, but in Python, it's called a dic. It's a dictionary. So let's say I have my underscore pet. We're going to talk about the naming conventions and variable declarations in Python later in this video. So this one is going to be, let's say the name is, put it in strings, George. The breed is German Shepherd. These ones should be inside quotes as well. So then the key and the value should be inside quotes, and that's it. So that's a dic or a dictionary. We also have sets. Sets are unordered collections of unique elements. And the cool thing about a set is, let's say I have unique numbers. If there are multiples of a certain item, they're going to be ignored. So if I have 1 and then 2, 3, and then again 3, and then 4, 4, 5. So I have 2 3s and 3/4. So let me just print it in the terminal. The way you can print is you just call the print method or function and you write the name of the pointer. So in here, what I could do is I could say Python C, not A, sorry for that, C data types. And now we see that even though we had 2 3s and 3 4s, we just have 1 2 3 4. So duplicates are always going to be ignored when it comes to sets because they are in order, but they are unique. It's going to remove the duplicate ones. And finally, the one that I want to talk about last is going to be the none type. Let's say result, let's call it none. Now, if you have watched the previous couple of videos, we talked about null and undefined. Basically, both of them are none in Python. This basically represents the absence of a value. And that is it. So this is going to be it for all our data types in Python, the common data types. Now I want to talk about a little bit when it comes to variable declaration in Python. So in Python, the syntax or the way that we declare a variable is called a snake case, and you could create variables in Python using the JavaScript syntax, which was the camel case. So that's why right here you can see I have the unique and then the snake case, which is this underscore, and then we have the numbers. That's how we basically separate two different words but make it more readable. And some other things that you need to keep in mind is that the variable names, they could contain letters, numbers, and underscore, but they have to start either with a letter or with an underscore. So if I were to write here an underscore, that would still work. We don't see that here. We could just put that here as well. But they shouldn't start with anything else. And one last thing about variable names. If I say my name, this is different than my name because variable names are case sensitive. Now we did talk a lot about when we talked about JavaScript. We had the keywords, the var, the let, and the const. Thankfully, we don't have any of that in Python. We just write the name of something and then you put whatever you want inside of that. And with this, our lesson comes to an end. See you in the next one.